Subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified about the highlights of India's smartest podcast, The Ranveer Show. This is TRS Clips. You're a motivated dude, and I'm deeply into sports just like yourself. That's where I withdraw my motivation from. You know, when you see a story unfold in the sports world, somewhere you take away shit from that. Recently, I've been deep into the NBA, following it deeply for the last.
Did you see the Lakers and what they did to the Nets
Yes.
this morning?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So all of it, right? Like you have your Damian Lillards of the world, you have Steph Curry's story.
My first love in sports is basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So as far as I can remember, the first sporting event I ever went to live was to the LA Forum, which is where the Lakers used to play. When I was a small kid, my father took me to a Laker-Celtic game.
Magic Johnson.
So, dude, I'm talking about Showtime Lakers, okay? Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, AC Green, Byron Scott, all these Cooper, all these guys, Rambis, against Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, all these guys.
Wow.
I mean, the biggest sporting rivalry of all time. And I was hooked. When I was in boarding school, I went to a British boarding school, and I obviously couldn't play football, but football was life, being a British school. But I used to play basketball. I was captain of my basketball team, and it's been my first love. And I've been like a Laker fan. It was the first franchise I ever followed. So I'm a huge basketball buff, man.
That's crazy. And hearing you, I'm sure you're following whatever is happening even recently. You're in touch with the game completely.
Yeah.
And that's one of my personal goals as well, to buy an Indian version of an NBA franchise by the time I'm 40 years old. So let's see. At some point, hopefully it'll happen.
Let's talk, man. Let's talk.
For sure.
We all have India represented in the NBA, though, so that's great. A dear friend of mine, Vivek Ranveer, is one of the owners of the Sacramento Kings. He's a Jew boy originally. And now, obviously, in the early 70s, shifted to the Bay Area and is a big tech guy. But him, Shaq, are part owners. He's the majority owner of the Sacramento Kings. So we have India represented.
Yeah, and I feel that NBA is just going to keep expanding into India. I'm seeing it expand in urban centers, but it's also kind of expanding in Punjab, Kerala. These places are picking up on NBA. People are following LeBron. People are following Steph Curry. So it's great news for NBA fans. We're not a niche anymore. The question is, if you had to quickly highlight 5 stories from sport that have added to your mindset, what would those stories or those athletes be? From all of the sports you follow?
There are so many, man. And that's the wonderful thing about sport. It just provides so much motivation and inspiration. They're wonderful stories. Like I keep saying, the triumph of the human spirit. It just has that, first of all, the sporting spirit. Secondly, is that never say die spirit. Until that final bell doesn't ring, it's go. You don't stop trying. I mean, there's such wonderful, wonderful stories. Such great stories and great sporting moments. There are hundreds of them that you can take so much inspiration from. Just go to YouTube and YouTube some of them, and it's unbelievable.
Just five athletes, if you had to highlight, who are your favorite 5 athletes? If you want, I'll give you mine, and then maybe to set you off on some tangents.
It's very tough to choose 5, but obviously, as an Indian, the first of anybody's is Sachin Tendulkar, man. Unbelievable. Another athlete I have unbelievable respect for, not just because of what he did on the field, but more for what he did off the field, is Yuvraj Singh. For the life that Yuvi has had, the way he's battled cancer, come back, still play. And I believe he was aware of his illness during the World Cup final. And to come out as a man of the tournament, his fighting spirit is something else. Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. But then you have great athletes in India like Leander Paes. I mean, just look at Lee and the span of his career. I mean, he won a bronze in the Atlanta Olympics. He's still playing professional tennis. It's unbelievable. I'm willing to wager he's possibly one of the longest serving professional athletes in the world. I know there's this one Japanese professional footballer who's like 52 and he's still playing. But just what Lee has achieved has been fantastic. And internationally, there's so many. I mean, one of my favorite and one of my idols in my life is Magic Johnson, and I had the absolute pleasure to meet him in 2015 when I was actually invited to play in the NBA All-Star Weekend celebrity match. And I was the first Indian to go out there. And I remember I had a slip disc and I took all these shots for painkillers because I had to do. I mean, as an NBA fan, how can you not want to, run out in Madison Square Garden? And nothing topped that but meeting Magic Johnson. And, he's just been a player that I've just admired from ever since I was a kid. And, for him to deal with his career and be just the best at what he was. I mean, just to be a point guard and be the size that he is, I think, an achievement in itself. And then to go through being HIV positive, to fight that battle publicly, to come out and just be such a champion for the disease and for the cause, and just being such a great business entrepreneur. He's actually one of the main inspirations behind me wanting to become an entrepreneur, was because I saw how wonderfully Magic Johnson did it and how he gave back to the community. So there are just so many wonderful, wonderful athletes out there that can give you so much inspiration every day. Didier Drogba, I'm a big follower of Chelsea Football Club. But what Didier Drogba did off the field as well. I mean, the man put a stop to a civil war, in his home country. And, it's just, I think there's so many athletes that just provide not just inspiration by being the athletes that they are, but also by being the human beings that they are.
I hear you. I'm going to quickly go over my 5. LeBron James for business, Kohli for mentality, Damian Lillard for cutthroat attitude. I'd probably say Nadal for just being a nice guy, but also having brutality inside him. And, I'd probably say Jasprit Bumrah for just like recently. I've been following him inside out, just the way he goes about business. So those are my 5.